Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. It has been a while since I released an episode, especially for this year. But don't worry, I have not ghosted you or the podcast in any way, shape, or form. For the past 6 months, I took an unexpected break from podcasting to focus mainly on my mental and emotional health. I needed to heal and learn to adjust to the specific events that happened in my life. With that said, I'll share those experiences through the succeeding podcast episodes and the lessons I learned from them. So, for this episode, I am joined by my good and dear friend, Dyan Francisco, and we are going to talk about our first hand experience about being ghosted and what are the lessons, insights, and the empowerment that we get from that experience. So, without further ado, let's jump right into today's episode. Diane, can you share with us your firsthand experience in terms of being ghosted? Like, what are the lessons you learned after being ghosted? And at the same time, what are the effects when someone ghosts you?
Wow. Okay. This is very meaty. So, hi, everyone. Mia and I talked about this offhand, off air. And initially, I told her that I didn't really want to dwell on love life because, when people talk about ghosting, it's always about the love life. Well, I've had my fair share of that, mind you. So, I understand. I do. I do understand too that there are other relationships that do involve ghosting, like say for example your friendships, even family. But for me, there are a lot of moments when me as an entrepreneur, I experience ghosting from my clients. So I'm just going to try and put everything together that I felt, that I experienced, and then everything that I also learned, because this one thing from ghosting kind of feels like it's similar on different levels. So,
Mm,
anyway, the lessons that I learned after being ghosted, let's focus on me being an entrepreneur. When I feel like my clients are ghosting me, like when I give them a proposal or something like that, a sales proposal, they make me put in so much effort at the beginning, putting everything together, like a relationship, putting everything together, trying to make everything so seamless for them. And then after I send the proposal, what I get is a no response. And that's the worst response that you can get, a non-response from anyone. It's because you're left hanging. You don't know how you can proceed from there on. It's
like,
better if
there's
you
no
get a no.
closure
Yes,
in a
there's no
way. Yeah.
closure. It's better if you get a no. It's better if you get a no because at least you know that, hey, I can move forward. I can open up my slot or my
Mm,
time for another person, right? So whenever I experience that, it feels like I'm in limbo. And it sucks. To be frank, it really sucks because, you've invested so much time, so much effort, so much energy into this one person, to this one business, and then all that you're going to get is a no response. So that would hurt not just my ego and my pride, but it also hurts me financially. So
mm-hmm.
I think that, that kind of ghosting is something that uh, I don't know how else I would put it, but it sucks. And the effects of it is really taking a
Yeah.
lot from me financially, time wise, sometimes even emotionally, because you get hyped up on this new venture
Yeah.
that saying that, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be doing this new thing. I'm gonna be able to close this contract, and
Yeah.
then poof, no
Yeah.
response.
What you shared about being ghosted, that you don't focus on just the love life, because nowadays, right, when someone says that you've been ghosted, it automatically means that it's about something that you're romantically linked to. But in this case, I like how you put it into context that it can also be applied to work, to your journey as an entrepreneur in terms of dealing with clients and whatnot. And I'm sure that we are going to dwell about other things as well, like in terms of
Mhm.
friendships and other relationships, such as with our family. Because being ghosted does not only apply to, again, to romantic relationships, but relationships in general,
Yes,
right? So,
exactly. But I also have to, for me, I also have to give them the benefit of the doubt. At least not business wise. Okay, I'm moving on to a next field, if you can call it that way. Like relationship wise, I do understand, and I might get backlash for this, but I don't care. Um, I understand if the reason behind why some people ghost,
Mm.
because I myself have ghosted some people. Not romantic. Question. Ding dong ding. Okay, no, not romantically. I had to think.
Mhm.
But I do understand that there are some people who have ghosted others because of the fact that sometimes a confrontation might be too taxing on them.
Mm.
So I would get that. And I understand that not everyone would agree with this sentiment, but there are a lot of people, not just me, who have experiences that, when you put yourself in a situation where you have to cut things off or you have to set your boundaries,
Mm.
that the other party would feel appalled, will feel frustrated, and
Offended.
sometimes offended.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And people just don't want that kind of scene or
Mm.
confrontation. Right. So for me, yes, I have ghosted somebody. I think I've established that already. I have no regrets when it comes to doing that because it
Mhm.
was to preserve the other relationships that I have. So I'm not really exactly talking about romantic relationship, but it is, say for example, friendships.
Mhm.
Like you have a barkada. Well, okay, I'm giving a scenario.
Mhm.
Might not be true, but
Paint a picture
um,
for us. Go.
yeah, I'm gonna paint the picture for you. So say for example, you have a barkada and then there's one in your barkada who is being very toxic already. And that person is, quite explosive when confronted. Right. So there are people like that who have not matured enough to handle an adult conversation. So for me, it's already doomed to begin with. So for me, it's kind of it's kind of mean of me at the beginning. I mean, it's kind of mean of
Mm.
me to assume that about that person. But if you have known a person for years, if you
Mhm.
have known a person for a long while, and you know that this is how the person would kind of respond to this, to a sentiment that you have, it would really make you feel turned off to
Mm.
proceed
Mm.
when it comes to having a conversation like that.
Mhm.
So you kind of not just, I think ghosting is very abrupt, but more of slowly back off until it's
Mhm.
gone.
Mhm.
So I guess that's what ghosting is, right? You become
Yeah.
like a ghost.
I googled the term ghosting before we had this recording or we had this podcast episode because at first
Yeah.
I really don't know what ghosting means. I think ghosting in terms of Google means without closure.
Without
It's something
closure. I
abrupt.
think,
Yeah, it's
this is
just
the
something
perfect time
abrupt
to.
that the person just disappeared. That's why ghosting, because that's what ghosts are. Like
So
they
it's
would
not
you
like
would
the
see a
fisting
ghost and
out.
it would disappear. Yeah. So there's no
Ah,
closure. There's no closure at all. So you feel left out.
well,
You feel like someone abandoned you in some way. Because again, you wouldn't want to have someone that you're in a relationship with. Again, not just romantically, but with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers.
yeah. To
When you
just leave
feel
with
that
no
it just
trace.
yeah, you just leave you where you are without any response or any heads up in a way like, hey, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be gone for a while, so please know that
It's not you,
I'm
it's
gonna
me.
ghost you.
Oh
So
my
yeah.
gosh. Do you even ask permission for ghosting? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But
I think it depends on the
yeah.
person that you have a relationship with. Like other people who are capable of communicating, like they will say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I just wanna give you a heads up that I'm gonna be busy for a couple of months." Like, yeah,
Mhm.
no, not everyone is capable of doing that. Again, no
Yeah,
judgment to the people that are
exactly.
unable to do that because yeah, with your experience, I'm sure that not everyone knows how to communicate, like what you said.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe for me, if I were to be asked if I'm gonna do that again, if I'm gonna
If you're gonna
ghost,
ghost someone.
I guess I came from a very immature period of my life.
Mm.
Then, I mean, I have no regrets of cutting off the relationship, yes. But I suppose the way that I cut it off, I probably would rethink it now if I had to do it
Yeah.
now.
Mm.
Right. So I suppose I am not pro ghosting, but I'm also saying because people might get
Yeah.
that. I mean, might get that impression that I am pro ghosting. No,
Mm.
I am not. But now that I suppose I'm in a better place
Mm.
emotionally, I have done my work on
Mm-hmm.
myself. I think I wouldn't want to be ghosted, nor would I want to ghost anyone
Mm-hmm.
too. I don't want to leave anyone hanging, regardless of the kind of relationship that we have, whether it be business wise, relationship, romantic relationship, right? Because it's only the mature thing to do for you to
Mm-hmm.
have this decent closure. Like what I usually tell my friends now. Wow, character
Mm-hmm.
growth snaps, but it's more of graceful exit, a
Mm-hmm.
graceful exit,
Yeah.
right? So if ever you're gonna leave a relationship, you're gonna leave even a workplace. Say, for example, I'm not pro a wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like ghosting from work. Oh my god, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say that, as much as you can, as much as you have the bandwidth for, try to exit as gracefully as possible. So that
Yeah.
is for anyone who is trying to ghost you, like trying to move past a relationship, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna give an advice to people who have been ghosted, but
Mm-hmm.
also people who
Yeah.
are thinking of ghosting. So
Yeah.
try as much as you can. As much as you can. I know that not all situations are ideal. There
Mm-hmm.
are there are better situations than the other, but as much as possible, try to leave as gracefully as you
Mm-hmm.
possibly.
I love how you also shed the light that ghosting is not always negative in that sense,
Can.
because I also had my fair share of being ghosted as well. So just
Oh, I
to
didn't know this.
also answer the question, I've also had my fair share of being ghosted, whether it be friends. Well, I haven't experienced the romantic relationship part because I'm still single. But
Thankfully.
yeah, thankfully in a way, I think I'm saved from that pain. But from my fair share of ghosting, it's usually in terms of friendships. So
Yeah.
I have a hard time accepting a recent ghosting that happened with someone whom I consider as a friend. Though, just to clear the slate, I have nothing against the person, because also what Diane shared, like not everyone is able to either communicate, or it's not their priority, or their level of friendship with you is different of how you perceive the friendship. The effect of me being ghosted by that quote unquote dear friend was very traumatic for me, honestly. It was hard for me to accept it at that time, because it was the first time that I was ghosted like that. It was really abrupt, and we never fought before. We never had an argument. It was the first time that that happened, basically. And then I tried reaching out to this person to be on the mature way of dealing with things in terms of relationships, because let's face it, every relationship that is worth valuing has conflicts, right?
Yeah, it has
So
moments like
whether you would want to save the relationship or not, it's really up to you. For in my case, I really want to save the relationship because I consider this person as a good friend. So anyway, I tried to reach out to this person a couple of times, tried to apologize for what I did or did not do. I'm not sure what I did wrong, but basically I really wanna know their side of the story, because you also shed a light in terms of being ghosted, right? It's not always about the person feeling that they're ghosted, but also the person who
yeah,
ghosted you. They also have a different side of the story. So, long story short, I'm actually honestly struggling with trust issues because of that. But again,
yeah,
I don't want to focus on the negative aspect of the experience, but rather I'm focusing more on what I'm able to learn from it. So I'm able
yeah,
to learn a lot of things in terms of being ghosted. Like, the first thing is you really have to accept the situation at hand. Because at first, I wasn't able to accept it. It was something that I never knew possible, that someone would consider a good friend to do that to me. So at first, I was in denial. And then the second one was, after accepting, you really have to let yourself grieve, because you lost a relationship. It's not just
yeah,
always about death, but it also comes with a situation of death of a relationship. The third one was seeking wisdom. This is where my pride was My pride was
Yeah.
tested was seeking help from other people, seeking wisdom from other people who know better than me on how to handle the situation better. I'm coming from a place of pain. So basically, you really can't do anything good when you're coming from a place of pain. So I really isolated myself and reflected and then sought advice from other people who are smarter than me, who are much more filled with wisdom. And then they gave me a lot of good wisdom that I practiced every single day up until this point. And the last thing, just to want to add it, is that what did I learn about myself? How can I better myself because of this painful situation? So again, a lot of humility and understanding, right? So
Yeah.
there is a good and a bad, but it really depends on you whether or not you would focus on the good or focus on the bad. So in this
Mm.
situation, I focus on the good. So I learned more about myself, being more aware of myself. What are my tendencies? What are the things that I should and should not do in terms
Mm.
of that experience? But again, being ghosted is out of your control. What is
Precisely
within your control is how you would respond to
to
being
that
ghosted.
ghosting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe, Mia, just to add on to what you said, like if correct me if I'm wrong, but there are a lot of people that I hear who really struggle when it comes to closure.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about myself, I was desperate before. Okay, fine, we're gonna dwell on a little bit of the romance here, but I was desperate then to actually get closure from a relationship or an almost relationship. See, exactly, this is why I
Mm-hmm.
need closure. So
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of people who have been talking about the need for closure, the desperate need to be able to have a one-on-one with this other person so that they can
Mm-hmm.
get clarity and whatnot. But I also realized through the years that you can't exactly get what you want. But
Yeah.
because like what you said, it's beyond your control. The
Yeah.
ghosting, the ghoster is beyond our control. And sometimes you will not get what you want. And I realized that there are moments when it's fine or it's actually beneficial for you to recalibrate your expectations when it comes to the closure
Mm-hmm.
that you want to get from being ghosted. Sometimes the closure can come from within. And like what you said, I really commend you on how you tried to take on this ghosting experience that you've just went through, that instead of having this sort of backlash on the other person, because there are some
Mm-hmm.
people like who smear campaigns, um instead of going rogue, just to be very, just to have this very colorful description of it. What you did was actually very commendable
Mm-hmm.
because you tried to better yourself from the
Yeah.
experience. And even if
Though
you
just to add also, this person who ghosted me was very active on social media. so
exactly,
so
exactly.
it's a slap in the face ghosting.
Hi. Well, like what they say, you after a breakup is when you take your power back and when you shine, you cut your hair
Yeah.
and whatnot, yada, yada, yada. You can also do that with your
Yeah.
friendship. You can improve yourself. You can reclaim your power that was lost because, it feels like you've lost power after being ghosted,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That's why it's a blow in your ego, on your pride.
Yeah.
So you can take back what's yours. At
Yeah.
least power, right? By
Yeah.
improving yourself, learning from that
Right.
experience. So I do not
Yeah.
advocate for closure.
Yeah. Though in terms
the
of closure,
the desperate
yeah,
closure,
agree. So I
the
think
groveling type.
in terms of closure, I think for me in my experience, because it was a big blow to my ego and pride, like someone ghosted me, and the thoughts that I had then, which I'm not proud of, I said, how does this person dare to do this to me? Honestly, that
Yeah,
really comes
yeah.
from pride and ego, honestly, which I'm not very proud of, but I'm still trying to work on it. So
We
in
all
terms
have
of
our low points. Yeah.
yeah, it's a matter of, are you aware of it? Are you
hmm
aware of those tendencies that you have? Like again, this experience really exposed a lot of things that I needed to improve on in myself. I think in terms of closure, I really do think that it comes from a sense of entitlement, because you're trying to control something that you have no control over.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm. And
Go
then
ahead. Go ahead.
in terms of us as human beings, as what I've also contemplated is that we really hold on to logic, to what makes
Mm.
sense, to what is efficient or convenient for us. And again, that roots from pride, that roots from ego, because everything has to work based on our preference. So I think that's the thought that that's a train of thought that I'm going with, because whenever something bad happens, I always get irritated and ask, why is this happening to me? That in itself comes from pride. That in itself comes from ego. So again, this experience really exposed that negative side of me. And with that, there's always a positive thing that you can learn from any negative thing. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to
Precisely.
make yourself better because of this, or are you going to make yourself bitter because of this?
Wow, I love that. Yes, I love that.
Play on words.
Yeah. And maybe I guess just to wrap it up on my end, the things that I would impart for those who have been ghosted is one, just taking from you, Mia, is don't
Mm-hmm.
feel entitled for any closure.
Mm-hmm.
Like the it's out of your control, and it's also not going to be good on your mental health if you will grovel,
Mm-hmm.
if you will beg for anyone to give you closure. You are much better than that. And I suppose the second one is, oh my gosh, I'm really just getting everything from you, Mia. So I'm wrapping up this for you. But it's really more of, like, instead of trying to focus on the other person, try to focus on yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not being selfish. It's more of asking yourself what happened wrong, what mistakes did I do, what mistakes did the other person do, because you can't just take everything in, carry it on your shoulders, and just
Mm-hmm.
say that everything is my
You
fault,
can't
because
take the blame for
also
everything.
exactly, that's
Yeah.
also unfair for yourself. And make use of whatever it is, the new learnings that you have, to better the relationships that you will have in the future. Because
Yeah.
as much as we hate it, there are some people who are just going to enter our lives for just a phase. There are some who are going to stay for a long time, but there are some who are just going to leave us lessons.
Yeah.
Wow, very cliche, but very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey everyone, I also own this business, Overs Digital. So Overs Digital is actually an agency that helps out people in e-commerce. So we're currently helping out people in Lazada and in Shopee, and we're planning to go toot, 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 toot. Okay, I'm not gonna share my plans, but yeah, you can follow us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, and you can collaborate with us. So just hit us up. We also work with influencers for those who would like to live stream. So just let us know. Hit us up at Overs in Instagram. So catch you there.
Thank you, Dan.